Hello, gang. Whew, that was a rough start. Sorry about that. I had all kinds of technical issues. I think I've got them mostly behind me. So, hey, let's get official. So, this is daily, not daily, sorry. Old habits die hard. This is Dan's Art Adventure number 25, I think. Rescuing a painting. In this case, by adding a person. All right, we should be up and running. There we go. So this is a painting I did about 3 years ago, I think, about a year before COVID. It's funny how that's become a reference for so many of us, hasn't it? I'll just move you around and let you see it kind of up close. This is a scene. I actually did it on plein air, set up my easel at a country farm, about 7 or 8 miles from our house, I think. I was in a mood 3 years ago. You can go back and watch me do this on YouTube. I was in a mood to study trees. I really wanted to improve. Oops, sorry, I keep kicking you. Sorry, hang on just a minute. I really wanted to improve in my rendering of trees, so I jumped in my car and went out to, now that I got it all positioned, I'm going to move on you. All right, that'll do. I jumped in my car and went out driving through the country roads outside Raleigh, North Carolina, looking for hang on. Trying to get my live chats working here. And I found this scene. Now, this painting, it's not been varnished yet. And it's been in storage. It's been in a gallery, maybe? I don't remember. I'm not sure it's been in any gallery, to tell you the truth. Right about the time that I did this painting, I pulled out of all galleries in North Carolina. That means all galleries I was in. All right, I'm distracted because I'm trying to make sure my broadcast is working at the same time. And I like the painting quite well. There's some very nice things happening in it. Nice rendering of this big old oak tree. Some nice secondary broken color here, some kind of raspberry purple color and some blue, some hidden, some subtle broken color up here. Real nice, I think, nice play of light on this house. I looked at it just the other day and said, you know what, I think this is one of those old-fashioned metal canopies that goes over a south-facing window. Here in North Carolina, south is where the sun is coming from, the hot sun in the summer. So this is, and I think I could actually bump that up just a little bit. This will be actually the third time, I think, that I have delved into I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my chat working, live chat. I see you guys are chatting and I am not able to see what you're saying. So, this was part of my again, forgive me, I'm very distracted with technology this morning, trying to get everything to work, and I may not be able to see your chats. I'm so sorry. Anyway, about a year ago, I went into my attic and turned out to be 100 pieces of artwork. Not all of them were paintings, but the great majority were. And I had an epiphany. These are paintings that I've done over the last 20 years. Some of them very new, like this one at the time, and some of them very old. One of the things that I discovered, the epiphany was, I don't tend to put enough people in my paintings. It was seeing, I stretched out a bunch of my paintings up in my upstairs hallway so I could look at them all, and I categorized them by good, medium, indifferent, good, medium, and bad category. Threw out the bad ones, so on, turned them into bookmarks. And made this discovery that left to my own devices, I tend to not put people in, and I concluded that that was a weakness. My personality, I love play of light. I love structure, I love nature, I love all this stuff. So I'm perfectly happy just having a scene. Just, of course, a lot of people are. But what I concluded is that, yeah, but the painting would be stronger if there was a figure in it. Now, please understand, I'm not proposing here that I'm going to turn this into a figurative painting. There's not going to be a naked woman here this big. I'm being silly. No. It's still going to be a scenic landscape painting, but I'm going to add a figure, and I'm going to add a figure right there. All right, so I've thought about this quite a bit, and what I'm going to do is add a picture of a boy walking with a dog, coming back to the house. Okay, not going out, but this is late afternoon sun. I hope you can see. I mean, it could be morning, but anyway, it's not. It's late afternoon. And so I'm going to put a boy. And just yesterday or the day before yesterday, I sat down in the chair right behind me and did this really quick sketch. And I know part of me says, well, if I was a really good artist, I would do 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 sketches to make sure I'm doing the right one. Well, if that's the case, then so much for me being a really good artist, because I'm not going to do that. I did one sketch, and in about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. And that's all I'm going to do, because I like it just the way it is. Now, I do have a little bit of a problem here. I'm trying to see if there's any way I can get this. There we go. Maybe that'll do. Hang on. There we go. Let me see if that'll stay there. I'm sorry you can't see it now, but I can. All right. So ratio, size. I want the boy's feet, I think, to be right about there. So it's, hang on. See, I was afraid of that. It's not quite gonna work. And I don't want to rip this page out of this notebook. I should have solved this before I started the broadcast. I know that. I've got some tape here. Maybe I can. Sure enough, here's what I can do. I think I can do this without destroying my sketch pad. Again, forgive me, I know I should have had all this worked out. So much for smooth broadcast quality, eh? But at least now you can see it a little bit. I don't know how well you can see it, but there it is. All right. And again, forgive me, part of my technical snafus this morning is I cannot see your chats. So I'm sorry, leave your chats, I'll look at them later, I promise. But I decided to go ahead and broadcast anyway, in spite of the fact that I couldn't see. All right, so that's where I think I'm doing the feet. And I'm aiming here for a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, something and just a mutt dog, not a purebred anything, just a country dog. Boy in a hat, walking that way. Maybe a black boy, African-American boy. I'm inclined to think that. But I'm going to probably keep it the racial profile rather vague. Anyway, and I've got a stick in his hand because he's got a dog, and a boy walks with a stick. He's got shorts on and so forth. Anyway, that's what I'm inclined to do. So he's about 5 feet tall, and I think if I put a 5 foot tall boy right here, I think he's going to be about that tall. So those are just some little measurements for me. And I want that little browner. So as you can imagine, this painting is very dry. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, just a minute ago, you saw me rubbing a rag over the painting, and that had Gamsol on it. Okay, so just wanted to make sure the canvas was clean, didn't have any dust on it. I've talked about this before, but there's definitely a real trick to adding stuff to an old painting, right? I saw one time where some old Russian painter suggested that you rub half an onion. He may have been exactly right, I don't know, but that's the only time I've ever seen that. It seemed like he was a good painter, that's all I remember. Somebody can Google that. Why would you rub half an onion on your paper? Okay, hang on. My brain is getting clogged up by too much thinking at the moment. Okay, a couple thoughts about this. Again, this figure. I tried to capture it a little bit in this sketch, but as you can see, I'm not going to be following that sketch slavishly. I just wanted to capture. One of the things I want to indicate is the boy coming home, and I'm aware of what is his mood. Is he buoyant? Is he excited? Is he... No. He's been out on a good, nice long walk on a warm summer day with his dog, and he's coming home. So he's not depressed, he's not sad, but it's at the end of a walk, and so his head is down, his shoulders are relaxed. He's full stride. He's not shuffling in. He's full stride. So I want to make sure I've got the anatomy right. In fact, the sketch I did here, as I reflected on this more, and this is where I could have done another sketch, I just didn't bother. I thought, no, I think I want his head tilted forward a little bit more. So that's a conscious decision I'm making. And the reason I am drawing, by the way, in paint instead of like in pencil or something like that is because, as you'll see in a minute, if you're an oil painter, that is, I don't mean that's your identity. I just mean if you are in the act of painting in oils, drawing in oils is actually the fastest, in my opinion, the fastest and most expedient technique for drawing. Why? Because you can do exactly what you see me doing here, because you can wipe it off so easily, so easily. Then you can add a little bit more, and you can, as you'll be seeing me do here in the next few minutes, you can just carve away at the drawing. See, if you used a pencil or charcoal or something like that, it's much more labor intensive to add, subtract, and so on and so forth. Now, for some reason, right now, I've got a much younger boy happening here. I know what's wrong with it. He's gotten wider, and I don't think I want, it looks like about a 4 or 5-year-old boy right now, and I do not want that, so I'm going to skinny him up just a little bit in every regard. Now, since I'm drawing a figure here, let me talk for just a minute to some of you guys, some of my fellow artists about doing figures in paintings at all. One of the classes I teach fairly often is a class called Adding Figures to, this is not what it's called, but this is the description, adding figures to your scenic painting. So I teach not how to do a figurative painting, you know what I mean by that, right? Not a figure painting, but how to add people into your landscapes, basically. And one of the things I teach is that there are two distinct skills, two distinct activities, two things you need to do to get good at people. Two distinct. You can't do one without the other. You have to do both. One is you have to look at people. This is duh. You have to look at a person, a figure, and draw him or her. You have to look, copy, and draw. Okay, that's one. That's what the classic, if you attend an atelier or a serious painting art school, you do figure drawing, right? Hours and repeat, figure drawing. And clothed or unclothed, either one, you have to look and draw. Now, by the way, in today's culture, capturing people without their knowing it is in public is very easy. Do you know why? Here, I've got a extra phone here. Do you know why that's easy? Because everybody in public, now you won't get dramatic poses, I'm sorry to say, but everybody in public is doing this. Whoops, you can't see me. There. Everybody in public is looking at their phone. So I discovered this a couple years ago when I was traveling across the country, and I had a layover at an airport, and I had my sketch pad and I wanted to do sketch people. I was surrounded by hundreds of people. Virtually every one of them was sitting there looking on their phone. So again, I didn't get a lot of dramatic poses, but boy, I could draw at anybody. They never even looked at me the whole time. Anyway, so you have to draw. That's skill number one. You have to look and copy. Plain old-fashioned, I sound like an art professor. That's what you have to do. Number two, there's a number two, and this is what, if you don't understand there's two things, you're going to miss the boat when it comes to a figure. The other is drawing, learning by rote, R-O-T-E. And I'm looking to see if I have one of my anatomy drawing books here. I do not, I don't think. I have them all upstairs. But I do have, just by way of example, I do have one of my most recent anatomy sketchbooks, workbooks. Now this is about 2 years old. Wait, let's back up. That's not where I want to start at all. There we go. So I'm just going to flip through some of this and say, this is the kind of work you need to do, studying. And all of this stuff comes from, well, in this case, Pinterest, internet, online images. How to draw a mouth, different kinds of lips. How to draw an ear, different kinds of ways of drawing ears. Here's a good one. This page is all my work about how to draw hips. Male, female, start with a bowl, stretch it, smash out the front of it, smush the back of it, take a can opener, blah, 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 take a ball peen hammer and whack it there, and boom, 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 boom. So how to construct, how to think, how to remember. When it comes to anatomy, remembering, because there's 500 muscles and 300 bones, I forget. 200, I don't know how many bones, but a lot of stuff. Again, so here's more work on the hips. Back to the ears for a minute. And then I started working on legs. Just again, look, in this case, I was pulling images off the internet. Analysis, copy, draw, analyze, think. I could go for minutes and minutes and minutes. I could go for hours. Leg, knee, comparing a knee to an ice cream cone. Colors coded for the different muscles. Again, a different way to draw the leg, very architectural or mechanical. More legs, and then the whole figure, and then the muscles in the torso and the rib cage and the shoulder. Okay, I'm showing you this And this is some of my work here. I'm sure I got it from somebody, a chain, different colors, comparing that to that to that to that. And I think, yeah, and then there's one more page. All of this. So, I'm not showing off right now. I mean, you might say, well, those are lousy drawings. Okay, maybe you think they are lousy drawings. They're not. They're all quick. They're all fast. That was a study for something. Here we go. Now I'm doing angles of a head, right? All this kind of stuff. Kind of classic female figure and naming the muscles, the major muscles, etc., etc. The eye, and there's the eye, and then there's a nose, and then figure. I think that's about as far as I went. Yep, that was it. All right, so please bear with me for a moment. I am not showing off. I'm acting like a teacher right now. And especially if you're a young artist, that means if you're under the age of 50. Part of your job as an artist is you need to put in the time, you need to pay your dues, you just need to do it. If you want to be an artist, you have to pay or otherwise you'll be doomed. As one of my students said, I'm a vegetarian artist. No animal life in any of my paintings. No people, no animals. I just do landscapes, right? So if you don't do it, okay. And if you're over 50, then I'll give you a pass and say, yeah, do whatever you want. But if you're young, all right. So and again, I'm not saying this is a fantastic sketch, but it's passable. And how come I can do that out of my head? I just showed you. Okay, are you making the point? How can I do this out of my head? Same thing with the dog. How can I do this out of my head? I just showed you the answer. You just pay your dues. You got to study. You got to study. All right, that's as mean as I'm going to be, I hope, for the rest of this broadcast. All right. I can't wait to see your guys' chats on that as I go back and look at them later. Okay, so I'm carving away at this boy, and I was saying that drawing, and I'm drawing, of course, in transparent. I by that I mean I added my favorite medium, liquid original. Is on my palette. Here's my palette. Okay, there's my liquid, right? Give me a second. There it is. All right, mixed with just some medium dark paint. All right, and drawing in oil is nice because you can put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off in quick succession. Yeah, so I want to, and the bill of his hat really does almost more than anything else to indicate the disposition, the orientation of his head. Once again, I feel like I've got here a boy who's just too young, so that means his head is too big. I'm talking out loud here about why does it look like a young boy? Well, because the ratio between the size of his head and the size of his body are off. I need to make his head smaller in comparison. And with a little boy and a little child, their head is huge compared to the rest of their body, right? A little baby, nearly half their body is head. Slight exaggeration, but only slight. Get closer now, getting closer. I started to say a while ago, before I so rudely interrupted myself, that adding anything to a painting is a touchy business, because the painting that's finished, especially in my case, the painting has many layers of color. So I can't just come in here and stick anything onto the painting in an opaque manner. What I add to the painting has to feel like it's been on the canvas, that it's been part of it the whole time. And the only way to do that, and I can't go back to acrylics, of course. Everything my paintings are acrylic underneath, oil on top. So once you start the oil, you can't go back to acrylic. So here's the answer. How do you do that then? And the answer is layer, layer, layer. I'm going to have to render this boy and dog, and I have to let it dry in between most of the time. I might be able to work a little bit wet and wet, but for the most part, it's going to be paint, wait, paint, wait, paint, wait, wait for it to dry, okay? So that I can achieve the multi-layer look that I have in all the rest of the painting. All right, I'm getting a little bit closer here. Looking at his right arm now. I'm trying to think how far out do his arms swing, right? And by the way, speaking of paint and wait, I may not get any further than this today. If I can get the basic silhouette, no, I'm not happy with that dog. If I get the basic silhouette finished today, that will be a good accomplishment. And I'll, of course, let it dry. And then tomorrow, or whenever's the next time I get back to the painting, dog's head is too high now. I'll do more layers, one layer at a time, with lots of pausing, waiting a day in between. Now, because of the way I paint, with liquid or with titanium, alkyd titanium white, my oil paintings are almost always dry within one day. So I won't have to wait for days or weeks the way a very traditional oil painter might. All right, I'm going to leave the dog. Let's go back to the kid for a minute. I like the pitch, the angle of his head. Again, I'm aiming for, man, it feels so bad that I can't see your chats. Again, please leave chats. I will go back and look at them later, I promise. I look forward to reading them. Just sorry I can't see them right now. Okay, there's a bulge right here that shouldn't be there. Oh, I've got a little boy happening again. Erase both legs. So at least I'm modeling for you here. Why is oil the fastest way? If I'm doing a really quick oil portrait, I'm talking here not about like one of my wedding paintings, that's not a quick portrait, but if I'm doing a quick oil portrait, this is the way I start. I don't start by drawing with charcoal or anything like that. I start by drawing with man, I've really got this little boy thing happening that I'm not happy with. Okay. Oh my goodness. This might be one of those, golly, I sure wish I hadn't been broadcasting, because I sure did a bad job. So making his head smaller again. This arm's sticking up too far. And again, I don't know what kind of dog it is. Ironically, oh, by the way, there really was a funny story the day I went out and painted this scene. I did set up in the driveway. When I first got there, I actually pulled into the driveway, which is pretty nervy. In the country, you can get shot for doing stuff like this. And I called out. I said, "Hello, is anybody there?" I went over and I knocked on the front door. There was no, which is over that way. I knocked on the front door. There was no answer. I wrote a note. "Hello, my name is Dan Nelson. I'm an artist. I'm out painting, and I loved the look of the tree, and I wanted to ask if it was okay if I stopped, for several hours and set up in your front yard and paint." So did that, and I concluded, of course, that nobody was home. In fact, I did a reverse lookup on my phone. I found a name and a phone number of the person that, according to the internet, of course, of the person who lived there, and I called that number and left a message. I think the person's name was Sarah. So anyway, I was there for a good little while, an hour maybe, before I got a little bit more curious, and I want, just again, I'm very respectful of people's property. For an artist, I'm respectful. If you're going to be a plein air painter, you have to be a little bit nervy. No trespassing signs, basically, to me, no trespassing sign. Most of the time, I'm being kind of facetious here, but I'm an artist. Most of the time it means if you fall down and break your leg, don't sue us. And I go, deal. So anyway, I walked around the corner there was another porch in this part of the building that we can't see there. And I got close, and all of a sudden, there was a deep and very menacing growl emanating from the porch. And I stopped, of course, and I began to back up very slowly. And I saw the dog, and yes, sirree, it was a Rottweiler. Yes, it was. And I used all my best dog whispering techniques. Gentle, don't move suddenly, and don't turn around, and don't make eye contact, and speak gently and softly, and so on. I did all that. And fortunately, the dog stayed over there, much to my relief. So, wow, it turns out there was somebody home. There was a dog. A little bit later, my wife called me. Our grandchildren and our daughter and her husband were living with us. Some of you remember that stage of our life. They were living with us at the time, and she thought it'd be fun just to take the kids out on a little field trip and see what Bigka is doing. My name is Bigka. See what Bigka is doing. So I told her where I was, and sure enough, a few minutes later, my wife in the minivan and 4 kids showed up here in the driveway beside me. And they got out and started sounding like children, playing happy voices. Well, it turns out that this Rottweiler who lives in the porch here, turns out the Rottweiler loved children. So as soon as he heard children voices and children sounds, he came bounding around the corner. So I'd been there for an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. Had not, other than the scary encounter where I alarmed him and he alarmed me, he had just left me completely to myself. But when the kids showed up, I didn't know if he hated children or turned out he loved children. That's all. And he came bounding around the corner, and he was a Rottweiler. You know what that means? Solid muscle, 100 pounds, and outweighed all the kids by a considerable amount. And they were somewhere between intimidated and terrified, depending on each individual kid. And so our visit was very, very brief. To escape the dog, most of the kids jumped back in the van, the minivan, and the dog jumped in the minivan after them. By this time, I could tell that this was not a dangerous dog. This was just a dog that loved kids. And of course, now some of the girls are screaming bloody murder because this big, scary dog is in their van with them. So I had to go in the van after the dog and coax and pull. And I can't remember how I got the dog out of the van, but we did eventually get the dog out of the van. And I bid the children a fond adieu, and they went home only slightly rattled for their experience. And but by now, me and the dog are best buds. So now this 120-pound Rottweiler won't leave me alone. And I was broadcasting. I don't know. You can go back and find this. I don't know what it's called, but I was broadcasting live. I was live streaming at the time. Hang on. So I still have a boy that's a little bit too young. So let me move his feet this time. See if I accomplish what I want. If I lengthen his legs. Anyway, so so I'm broadcasting and I'm talking about painting, I'm talking about this dog, and the dog becomes amorously interested in my hind legs. So I'm on camera and I'm painting and I'm going like this. And I turn around and say, shoo, no, go, shoo. And the dog will turn around and stand 5 feet away. And then I turn around and start painting again. And the dog comes after me again. Oh my goodness. Oh, here's the rest of the, so the rest of the story is, I've been there for 3 hours now painting. I left the note on the front door, the wrong front door, turns out. And lo and behold, a young black man walks out of the house. He's on his way to work. And he'd been there the whole time. I had knocked, I had yelled, I had made a phone call, nothing. And there was a person in there the whole time. And meanwhile, his dog was messing with me. Anyway, that was, and then as I went to go home, I ran over their mailbox. All the joys of plein air painting. And so my day was not over. Now, by the way, I've got his head too low. The day was not over. I had to go to Lowe's Building Supply, Lowe's Home Improvement, and buy a new mailbox post and go home. And as the sun set on this nice warm summer day, I was out there with headlights on, digging a hole, pouring in concrete, building. And then they told me, oh yeah, it gets run over all the time. It really was a bad place for a mailbox, I promise. But anyway. You know what? I've had so much fun in this broadcast. I've run out of time. I am going to, I'll tell you what, before I go, I'll do just a little bit of drawing. Let's just see if anything happens. Now, a real quick explanation in case there's anybody new watching. I have a very, in this regard, a very unconventional technique of painting. I use pencils. There's pencil, visible pencil. There's some right here. In all of my, I mean in the whole painting process, not just at the beginning. I don't start with a sketch. Quite the opposite. I start by creating an abstract mess on the canvas. That's how I start my paintings. It's okay, if you will, so to speak. It's okay for me to draw in pencil because it's part of my overall technique. I just want to, before I finish today, let's do a little bit of pencil. And here's, I'm holding my pencil in a conventional manner just for a moment to draw that stick. Okay, so at the moment I've got a boy. He's not a 13, 14-year-old boy as I was thinking originally. He's more like a 9-year-old boy, but at least he's not 5. I don't want 5. I can live, I think, with a 9-year-old boy. Now, these lines, even that I'm making right now, they don't need to be perfect. I'm going to be drawing and redrawing this figure with each layer, each step of the process. And all I want to be today is close, and I think I've accomplished that. Definitely, let me reinforce that shadow just a little bit before I call it quits today. And I hope that I can broadcast some of the rest of this process, but we'll see. All right, again, thank you for your chats, thank you for your company, and I feel bad that turns out my iPad is so old that it can no longer support the YouTube app. I think that's what's going on, so I need to go buy a good used YouTube iPad so I can see your chats. All right, thank you for